Welcome to Idiosyncratic Fables. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Idiosyncratic Fables. I gotta admit, there's a small part of me that probably needs to be a little bit more regular about when these shows come out, but there's another part of me that says that's the whole beauty of it, just to make it spontaneous because I'll admit, with some of the stuff that I'm subscribed to, be it on YouTube, Twitch, or whatever, I can't regularly dedicate parts of my life just to make sure I watch somebody else's stream because I know I'm going to catch it later on down the road. Completely fine. So, with that being said, I might keep it spontaneous with hopefully, fingers crossed, no more than a month in between each episode. I think that's fair. With that being said, give you a little insight as to what I'm doing here in the studio. Currently, I am in book 3 of the Sergei Chronicles, which is a fabulous trilogy written by Diane Reed. I've done the first 2 books. First one is up and available, ready for sale. Gandwald's Child, highly recommended if you like sci-fi like I do. Book 2 is in the Q&A process, excuse me, the QA process and the final edits and such. It should be available here by the end of the month. And then likewise, the third book that I'm working on now should be available by sometime mid-December. Other than that, yes, I'm an audiobook narrator, but I've also started to dip my toes into the proverbial waters, if you will, of writing my own stuff. It's kind of cool and kind of scary. One, because I have a small idea of what I'm doing, but at the same time, there's stories that are just kind of like blossoming in my head, and I get to put them on paper, and it's awesome, and I want people to read them and just smile. But I'll get into those later after I've probably got something published. But speaking of storytellers, my next guest today is a fabulous human being. Met her originally when we were playing Pathfinder online with some other narrators and authors, and we are all just goofballs in our own way and fashion, and it is so much fun. And likewise has introduced me to what Del Pandowdy actually is. I may make that at some point. We'll see. Rachel, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It is such a pleasure to have you on.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad I could come hang out.
Yep, this is going to be amazing. So, with Pathfinder, we'll use that as our um, springboard to launch into our conversation.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing RPGs like Pathfinder and such?
Playing a couple years now. I've learned Pathfinder through this game. I know Dungeons and Dragons 5e pretty well.
Okay.
I'm really interested in systems that are neither of those. There's so many cool books and ideas out there that it's just like I want to learn all of these so I can play games forever. If only I had that much time. But so yeah, maybe 3 to 4 years now as a player, but I've been
Okay.
engaged in like tabletop media consumption for a good decade.
Gotcha. Okay. So, with the games you've played, do you have a favorite character you like to play, or race, or class?
Um, so the classes that I've played so far are rogue, as you know, cleric, and recently fighter. And it's I'm really digging cleric actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, being able to buff and debuff other people and enemies and kind of like jump around the playing field a little bit more and be more versatile, and being a spellcaster are all very new things that I didn't think I would be into until I tried them, and it's like, nope, this feels right.
Yep, I totally get that. For those that are listening, in our current Pathfinder campaign, I can relate to the cleric bit because my character, Frederick the Just, is a cleric. Well, kind of a cleric now,
Kind of.
yeah, now war priest. So he's like a holy shield, but not so stuck up as a paladin would be. So it's really, really fun and learning how to cast spells and be a charging wall of steel at the same time. Though it's hard to charge with a 15 movement speed, but I digress.
It's a very short charge.
A very short charge indeed. And some people are like, "Oh, well, you get a times 4." Yeah, that's still 60 feet, though. So, what got you into playing these games to begin with?
Um, I'm a theater kid at heart.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been acting for a long, long time and was always sort of a way like, do I make the jump into pursuing like community theater in my spare time? Like, is that an avenue I want to go? Do I have time for that? Do I have the stamina for that? And then sort of starting to see videos of like actual plays and be like, wow, like these are six people sitting down together to basically act and play pretend for 4 hours at a time, and
Right.
the story is guided, but there's also elements of randomness and chance, and those are all just things that, like, hit every single button that I have, and it's like, I need to learn more about this.
Can completely relate to that. Now, we'll come back to the theater bit in a minute. What has been your favorite and most memorable moment in the games?
Wow, there's been so many. I think, this is a moment from the first campaign I was in. I was playing a half elf ranger, who was, she was an old lady and she was a doomsday prepper. I mentioned her previously. Um,
Right.
and we were getting down to the end of it was supposed to be a one shot. It turned into a 5 shot, typical
Ooh,
story.
I'm familiar with those.
And we were trying to like do like the final battle and wrap it up. And I realized that one of the items we had acquired a long time ago was a bag of beans. And we're like, what? My DM was kind of like, hey, what do you want to do with the beans? And so we ended up throwing the beans on the ground. They were magic beans. They sprouted all sorts of random effects, including more monsters on the field, like a geyser of beer, I think was one of the things that
What?
spawned. And just I ended up like having to cool a monster down by like playing with a cattail and pretending it was a cat and trying to like entice it away from everybody else. It was just madness. But yeah, the that was a memorable experience.
Oh, that sounds so much fun. Oh, that's awesome. So let's now shift into theater mode because you did mention on that you were a theater kid at heart. What age did you start acting or just, being involved in theater?
Yeah, there was a pretty lively like youth theater scene in the town where I grew up, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and surrounding areas. Um, and I remember the first production I ever did was it was a musical version of Alice in Wonderland, and um, a lot of times for like the little kids would be kind of relegated to like a chorus group or like very small. They get like one song to come out and then they go off because
Right.
they're tired because they're 5 years old. Um, so I was a lobster in the lobster quadrille, and we had a song about dancing around doing a lobster dance, and I was a very like small child. I was like just tiny. I'm still very short. So the guy playing the white rabbit was able to pick me up at the end of the song and put me on his shoulders. Did like a big ta-da
Oh, what
moment.
fun.
Yeah, that was very fun.
That's awesome. I've got a bit of theater in my background as well, going back to probably as early as like 12, I want to say, somewhere
Hmm.
in the middle school range. Gosh, I couldn't tell you what my first play was, but my most memorable one, and it was absolutely hilarious. I played the role of Boris Renfield in the musical version of Dracula,
Oh,
and appropriately titled Dracula the Musical.
I mean, can't go wrong.
Oh, it was absolutely hilarious. The character Boris, for those who are familiar with the, Bram Stoker's version of Dracula, are you, Rachel?
Yes.
Okay. So Boris Renfield, the bug-eating, crazy sanitarium inmate Boris Renfield, who is professed his undying devotion to Dracula, following him around everywhere he goes. Kind of the same concept in Dracula the musical, except that his backstory is a wee bit different. He was raised by gypsies, and so therefore has that kind of hypnotic quality anytime he bursts out into song and dance. But the catch is you never know when he's going to do it.
Oh.
However, because of his gypsy background, he's been to a lot of places around the world. And the catch there is that if he hears anything remotely close to what may resemble the name of a state, he would burst out into song and dance. Uh,
Interesting.
it was hilarious. As an example, he could be off stage, completely, out of sight, out of mind, and somebody would come over and say, "Oh, my dear, I do believe I am quite parched after today's activities. I suppose I could go for something to drink. Maybe a mini soda, if you will." Here comes Boris, mini soda, from stage left, and then bounces into this song and dance routine about the state, Minnesota.
I was gonna say, do the songs have to do with the state that is mentioned?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
It's like their own personal travelogues in a way. And because of the hypnotizing quality from his gypsy background, everybody would be against their will dancing and swaying to the motion of the music while Boris sang. It was
Hmm.
hilarious.
Sounds it.
What would you say your favorite play was that you participated in?
Oh gosh. Okay. I think it would have to be the summer after I graduated from high school. Me and all the other drama kids who were my closest friends in the world. Um, we decided that we weren't really done with performing. So we're like, let's do like one more big thing before everybody goes off to college. And we ended up filming a production of No Coward's Hay Fever in my parents' house. We got costumes and we had like old camcorders because that's what we had in 2009. Um, and made a whole, and then we edited it all together and put in like music, and it turned out really, really great.
Oh, that's so cool. Now, let's switch gears again. At
Sure.
what point did you transition into, or not transition, but add to your repertoire writing?
So I've always been a big reader.
Okay.
Um, Always been a big audiobook listener. Just that was always something that was highly encouraged and something I carried with me for a long time. I love fantasy, I love escapism. Um, I just love the art of storytelling in all its various
Oh, yeah.
forms. So I'd had like ideas every so often and like met other people who were interested in writing like in college, but it never really like took off as something I wanted to do seriously until ye old pandemic. Um
Mm.
so suddenly I was kind of faced with a lot of time on my hands and not much to do. And I decided, why don't I take one of these ideas that I've had forever and sit down and turn it into a book? Because why not? Go for it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? And it turned out to be a really great thing that has happened. And one book became three books. And now I'm published and I have audiobooks and I have more ideas coming down the pipeline, and I cannot be stopped.
That's awesome. What was the name of your first book?
It's called Then Came the Thunder. It's
Then
a
Came the Thunder.
fantasy western.
Ooh. Okay. You got my attention.
Sure.
Now, is that part of a trilogy or a standalone?
It is part of a trilogy. So, Then
Okay.
Came the Thunder, then the second book is Then Came the Fire, and the third book is Then Came the Night.
Fantastic. And I'm trying to type it in and I missed the second H. I typed in "Then Came the Thunder."
Just that would be a very cold book.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. So, it's in, all of the formats that people can find. Who did you get for the narrator for that one?
Her name is Jen Lee. She's a fantastic narrator and actress. I think we kind of met when she was just starting to get into narration a little bit more
Mm.
heavily, and we talked, and she just got it. She got the way that. Okay, I'm trying to say too many things at the same time.
No, you're
Um,
fine.
when I write, I'm always thinking about dialogue is my favorite thing to write, and sometimes
Here,
that helps
here.
me. lay out the story. Sometimes I'll just skip all the other stuff and write the scene purely dialogue only and add in
Yeah,
everything else later because that's what I want, how I want it to flow. So it's always dialogue first, and I have my own sort of mental image of how each character sounds and how they deliver the words that they're saying
sure.
and the pacing of a conversation and how to handle like interruptions or stammering and things like that and all the things that I put in there Jen just mastered. She really is the voice of the series.
Yep. Jen Lee is a fantastic human being. I've actually worked with her on several books, actually. Well, not me per se, but my pseudonym.
A version of you.
A version of me, yes. And then had the absolute privilege to meet her in person on the audiobooks at Sea Cruise this year back in April.
Oh, awesome.
And oh my gosh, she's just such a fabulous human being. I'm so happy that she was your voice and not just the voice, but the perfect voice for your books. Because
Mhm.
that's what it's all about. When you, as an author, you just find that match, that perfect voice that just fits every nuance. I'm so glad it was Jen Lee. That is outstanding. So you've got other ideas you said coming down the pipeline. Are you at liberty to share what those ideas are?
Um, I tease them every so often on
Ah,
my Instagram page. What I feel like I'm at liberty to say right now is what I'm working on currently, and I'm close to finishing. I think maybe my first draft is my first stab at a retelling of a piece of classic literature
ooh,
with a sapphic fantasy twist.
okay. So you mentioned Instagram. Where can people find you on Instagram if you're allowing them to come follow you for future content?
Oh, yeah, why not? My handle is Rachel Huszar as a writer, spelled my name and then is a writer, and my website is rachelhuszar.com. You can find me there. There's a blog on there, but I haven't updated it in a while, but there's some good stuff in there, I think.
What fun, what fun. I've thought, considered, entertained the idea of starting a blog on my website. I would like to use the excuse, "Well, I don't know what to put on there, and nobody's ever gonna read it," but I know that's not the case. It's really just a matter of getting my butt in gear and getting the thing done, and eventually it'll come to fruition, but
Mhm.
honestly, right now, I've got so much stuff on my plate, it's kinda like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
just one more," but it'll happen in its own time. I know it will.
Yeah, definitely.
Which platform do you use, or yeah, platform, application, program, that's the word I was looking for. What program do you use for writing?
I use a app called Ulysses.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people have heard of, but
Mm-mm.
it's similar to Scrivener, but kind of pared down a little bit. But you can still sort of organize by project and like by sheets and chapters, and
Sure.
uses like Markdown language, so formatting is really easy, and then it's super easy to export to
Oh,
other
nice.
formats to edit or share or anything like that. But I'm a Mac user, so it syncs with my desktop and then my iPad, which is what I primarily would write on when I'm on the go, and even my phone. So I like the versatility of that.
You answered my next question if Ulysses was able to be cross-platform.
I
Like
don't know.
for example, if I were to start using Ulysses, or any writer out there that's listening for that matter, if they were to start using Ulysses, we're not sponsored, by
No, never.
the way. Not sponsored. No, no,
I'm
no.
just a user.
Just a user. If they were to start using Ulysses on, say, their desktop, save their work, can they come back and pick up where they left off on, say, their phone or tablet or laptop?
Absolutely, that's what I do all the time.
Okay.
Um, I I have a iPad with a detachable keyboard, so it's a tiny, not a real laptop, but I pretend it's a laptop. Um, And I use that when I'm out or traveling and do most of my writing on there, and then when I come back, it all syncs up to here so I can use the big screen and look at what I actually did,
Nice.
and yeah,
Okay.
there's like
Haven't
a
heard
focus mode that blocks out everything else and makes you stare at your cursor until you put your damn ideas on the paper.
That's super cool. I haven't heard of Ulysses, but I have you've I am using, Readsy.com because I know
Oh,
they
yeah, yeah.
they have a built-in writer bookshelf thingy that works really well for me, and it also is cross-platform due to their cloud-based saving profile under lock and key via my password only, so
Reedsy Marketplace is a great place to connect with professionals further down the line for all of your book needs. That's how I found my editor, my proofreader, my copywriter, my formatters. It's a wonderful database of professionals.
100% agree. That's actually where I plan on going is the marketplace for my editor. I'm actually incredibly thankful, and I'll even say lucky and blessed to have a guy locally 2 minutes up the road who can do headshots and book covers and blurbs and all of that.
Oh, awesome.
So along with, like, company logos and such. Like, "Well, dang, dude, I just need to get you to do all of it for me."
One stop shop.
Exactly. Except for the editing bit. He doesn't have anything in that, but he's got his degree in, graphic communication. What
Mm.
it's a no-brainer then, dude, yeah. Let's see. Any other questions that I have listed down? Hmm. Yes. What is your favorite style of book to read but not listen to?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I'm gonna say, what am I gonna say? I have no idea what I'm gonna say. I think it's I really like reading, like, epic fantasy.
Okay.
Big big chunky boys, lots of characters, lots of political intrigue, things going on, but I find them harder to listen to. It's like
Mm.
I need to focus in a different part of my brain to consume the content that I can't as easily, like, auditorially process. And I like to listen to audiobooks when I'm working or driving, so it's kind of like I need something that's a little bit smoother to think about.
Completely understand that. I'm currently slowly trudging through just because, time management and such. Currently reading the Harry Potter series out loud because that's how I am able to process information best is if I read it out loud, it sinks in deeper.
Mhm.
But for my first time ever, I'm still on the Half-Blood Prince.
Okay,
Have not progressed any further than that, but
that's pretty far in.
oh
Don't sell yourself short.
no, 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 not selling myself short at all. But oh my gosh, like, I got to we just finished, what was it, chapter 19, where the first years are coming in and Ron is prefect, and he gets to usher in all the first years to their dorms and such, and you get to hear the new song by the Sorting Hat, which was super cool, by the way. But the thing that made me set the book down momentarily and go, "Ah, they didn't have that in the movie," was Dumbledore's outfit. The purple robes with, like, all the white moons and such, and matching hat. I was like, "Dude, that should
Mhm.
have totally been in the movie." And
The
my
books
wife's like, "Go ahead."
the books overall had like, especially when it came to, like, costuming, I feel like we're leaned a bit more whimsical than some of the movies
Mm,
did.
yes. Completely. Ah. Well, I do believe that is going to wrap up things here for this episode. Rachel, you have been a fantastic guest. Thank you again so much for being willing to come on the show with me.
Oh, yeah, again, thanks for the invitation. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. It was a lot of fun. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for our listeners out there and or potential writers that have yet to put figures to keyboards or pen to paper?
No one can write it the way you would, and no one's going to. So, if you don't, it'll never happen.
I couldn't agree more. And a perfect segue into how I wrap up every single episode. Everybody has a story to share, and I want to hear yours. Everybody is worthy to be heard, and everybody is worthy to be loved. And so, if you'd like to be a part of the show, I would love to listen to you and have you on. And so, until I talk to you next time, peace be with you.